Pulse of St. Louis. The effort to get more black male teachers in the classroom. This morning at 10 on Fox 2.
This is the Pulse of St. Louis.
Welcome to the Pulse of St. Louis. I'm Shirley Washington. As schools throughout the state prepare to reopen, a move is underway to encourage black students, especially young black men, to become teachers. Joining us now, Dr. Darryl Diggs. He is the co-founder of Black Males in Education St. Louis. He's also an educator. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Diggs, first of all, tell me about Black Males in Education St. Louis. How did the organization come about and what is its mission?
The mission of BMESTL, which stands for Black Males in Education for St. Louis, we started with the thought of having a space for black males to come together through mentorship and advocacy, and also the need for more black males to be in classrooms with our students. And so we started this organization with the collaboration with another black male educator. His name is Dr. Howard Fields. He is now the assistant superintendent in the Kirkwood School District for HR. And so him and I came together last year, May of 2019, wanting to create this space, bring together an affinity group of black male educators. And in its inception, we have grown beyond our wildest dreams to incorporate a symposium, many different types of dialogue, and then also to influence policy. And so our mission...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you had the first annual symposium earlier this year. Tell me about that.
So the first annual symposium, we thought originally it would just be a really small gathering of about 300 educators, but it then ballooned to have an interest of over 1,400 people, and we had that at the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
And so tell me, why do you think there is such an urgent need to recruit black male teachers?
Yes, ma'am. Across the state of Missouri, black males equate for just over 1% of the teaching force of all teachers in the state of Missouri, and also in the country, we comprise of 2%. As I think back to my own upbringing, I had maybe 2 black male educators in my K-12 experience, much less my post-secondary career. So now I believe it's our turn to influence that number and to grow that the probability.
And you are an educator yourself, correct?
Yes, ma'am. At this moment, I am the proud principal of Hardin Middle School in St. Charles City.
And so tell me, what is it like for you to be isolated in that arena?
It's unnerving. It can be very lonely. Anxiety can set in. And if I am feeling this way, being the only one in the room or only one in the space, I know there are other black males experiencing the same type of feelings. And so that is why we created this group, to build in that connection, to build in that support for care.
And then how do you deal with that? How do you cope with that? Because it can be lonely.
So what I have personally done is reached out to young men, young boys who are graduating from high school or graduating from college, to just let them know that they too can become teachers. They too can influence young people and influence them to be the next leaders and shakers in their region.
And so when you talk with them, what kinds of response do you get as to whether they are interested or whether they're not?
So what we've done through this organization is that we have influenced young people to pursue education by scholarships, symposiums, conferences, through our social media presence. Now, when we have those conversations with young people, it's important that they know that if they can think deeply, they can be a teacher. If they have a knack for hard work, they can be a teacher. If they have a compassion, they can be a teacher. And so that's what we're trying to do. Just let individuals know, especially little black boys, that they can be a teacher and influence the narrative that we can be what we need to see in the community.
And so does your organization provide support and development for these young men?
Yes, ma'am. Our organization provides mentorship. Also, I mentioned scholarships for those who were pursuing or thinking about jumping into the field of education. We took care of their application fees.
Wow. Well, that is pretty impressive. And so what do you look for in terms of characteristics and just in terms of integrity and interest and passion and all of those things when you are talking with young people about becoming educators?
I lean into their story and also wanting to accentuate their voice. Many of us come from a wide variety of arenas in different places, and we all have that lens to where if we can make it, they can make it. I have had personal experiences where racist things have happened in my face in the workplace. And it's important that not only do we support and mentor, but we also create a situation where we retain Black males in education.
And then how do you deal with those situations that are racist? Because I'm pretty sure that is an experience that a lot of us as professionals have actually experienced, myself included. So how do you deal with that?
So I deal with it this way. I come from a family of educators, and I remember the first moment that it was brought to me, some racist, a very hurtful language. I spoke to my mother. And in speaking with my mother, she challenged me. She said, if this were to happen to your sons, what would you want them to do? And with that challenge, that's how BMESTL, that's how it started. I wanted to create a platform and a space to where we can console, empower, and uplift one another.
And what is your hope moving forward in terms of recruiting Black male teachers?
My hope moving forward is to impact policy. And what that looks like is that my hope moving forward is that we are able to come together as school districts, superintendents, and also regions around 4 big pillars: inclusion, diversity, equity, anti-bias, and anti-racism work. And if we're able to do that, enact policy, and also be systemic, we can change the experiences of young people in classrooms and also grow the wealth of teachers of color.
And why is it so important to have that diversity and to have the different perspectives and views in education?
All of us have a lens, and again, all of us have a story. And in that story comes history. And from what I've seen and also what I know, the history that we teach our young people needs to come from a variety of voices and also a lens that may look like them and also may not look like them, because the world is changing and is growing by the minute, and we need to give them that diverse background and experience.
Good point. And as you know, schools throughout the state are preparing to reopen this fall. Some may not. What is your position regarding school reentry?
My position regarding school reentry is that we need to be really intentional with communication. We need to be intentional with care. Across the country right now, we're all experiencing the pandemic. Now, with groups of people, whether you are in a marginalized population or not, all of us need to be really careful about how we re-enter and keep a hold of health, safety, and also relationships. Something that I would challenge all involved is to be sure that we do what we can to keep schools open. That way, eventually, we can all come back together to what we have grown up to see education look like. Brick and mortar buildings with teachers and classrooms.
Yeah, and this is a subject that everyone's talking about right now. Who should be involved in the process in terms of creating plans and guidelines, you think?
I would say everyone, Ms. Washington. So for example, I'm the principal of Hardin Middle School in St. Charles City, and my main focus and chief goal is to do a few things. One, be really focused and intentional about health. Second, really dive deep into reconnecting the population and our kids. As I think about my students, they have been away from school since the middle of March. And that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to chip away at our mental stability and mental health. So that's something that I really have to be cognizant of, being sure that our kids are okay, and when they come back, that we're ready for them. So to answer your question, I think we all need to be involved. Lawmakers, schools, teachers, our students need to be at the table to have this deep conversation about school reentry.
You touched on something that I think that is really significant when you talk about students and their mental health, because they have been away from the classroom for so long and away from their peers. How are you prepared to deal with that once school does start?
What I'm prepared to do is to reach out to our resources that we have in the community. Obviously lean on my counselors within the building. They are a great resource. But also we have a reach that is beyond many people's knowledge when it comes to local, national, and regional resources when it comes to mental health, wellness, also being very close and connected to our Department of Health. So for example, St. Charles County Health Department they also need to be a part of the conversation to make sure that we're doing the best we can to support young people, but also their families.
And talk a little bit more, if you will, about family responsibility as well as their children, their students.
Right. When it comes to family responsibility, I think it's all of our responsibility to adhere to the guidelines of our health department. For example, St. Charles County Health Department, as well as the CDC, the American Association of Pediatrics. The best thing that we can do is to socially distance, wear masks, wash our hands, and be cognizant of the things that we do now will impact somebody else very soon.
How excited are you about the upcoming school year?
I'm very excited. When I pursued this opportunity at the time, the pandemic wasn't a thing, at least widely known as it is now. So I do believe this is an opportunity for leadership. This is an opportunity for me to dive deep into getting to know the individual players, specifically moms, dads, guardians, and our kids. When I think about my staff, I worry about them too. I want to be the most and the best for all involved, and I believe this is our time to show what we're about.
Dr. Darryl Diggs, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the work you're doing in the community and in the field of education. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And straight ahead on the pulse, striving to bring about racial healing in the community and talking about sensitive subject matter. Stay with us. We're back in a moment.